There we go. There we go. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Follett House Friday. My name's Jeremy. I'm the Museum Services Manager for the Sandusky Library and Follett House Museum. And this week I pulled something out of the archives I think is kind of interesting. And let me tell you my thought process, how I got to the artifact before I reveal it. Yesterday, as some of you may know, was Constitution Day, the anniversary of the United States Constitution being ratified. And I thought, oh, that's really neat. Let's look for something to see if I can find something from our collection that ties in with the passing of the U.S. Constitution. And unfortunately, we really didn't have much that goes directly with the U.S. Constitution. So I was searching around and I found we have several different constitutions from different groups that resided in Sandusky. And one of the more interesting ones that I thought we had was constitution from a group, a temperance group in Sandusky. So as some of you may know, temperance was the movement, well, it's still around, but it's not as popular today, of getting people not to drink alcohol in any way, shape, or form. Of course, we had the passing the amendment that basically enforced a countrywide temperance, but before that, going back into the early 1800s, temperance societies were around to try and get first people to willingly not drink at all, and then after that, they were around to try and get local temperance laws passed. I know Sandusky passed temperance laws at different times before the national amendment. I believe there were some Ohio temperance laws as well before the national amendment. So there were, these were very popular, and Sandusky had their fill of them. So I wanted to share, we have a little constitution I'm going to pull out here from one of these groups. So this is the Constitution and Bylaws of Neptune Section number 45 of the Cadets of Temperance. This was published in 1848 by D. Campbell and Sons over on Water Street. So I'll bring it up here, try and get it so you can read the least part of it, so you can see what it looks like. And it's actually, a little bit of a, I don't want to say hefty book, but it's for a organization, it's still about 15 pages. It actually has a lot to it. And a lot of it's about the rules and how it should, the organization should lead. So the Cadets of Temperance was an organization for children to promote temperance. Here we go. So according to this, the people who were in the Cadets of Temperance, if I could talk, were composed of boys not under 10 and not over 18 years of age. They also could have honorary members for children who were younger. They could vote on that. They could also have women join the organization as honorary members, which I guess that just means they could attend the meetings. I've read through the Constitution today. And that was kind of the biggest thing that honorary members could do, is they could also attend. But I wanted to read you their little preamble because I thought it was interesting. Where it is essential to the ultimate success of the cause of temperance that the rising generation be early imbued with the principles of total abstinence and enlisted in the ranks of the cold water army. And whereas the deepest and most enduring impressions are always made during the period of youth, it has been deemed highly important to organize the youth of our land into a permanent temperance order under the following. That means the Constitution. What's really interesting to me is the Cold Water Army. So I didn't really know much about that as I was reading about it, so I was doing a little research this morning. And there was the idea was you took a cold water pledge, which meant you wouldn't drink any alcohol of any type. And that's one of the parts they talk about in this Constitution as well is, you have to take a pledge that you won't drink any alcohol whatsoever. Your first offense, you would get reprimanded. Your second offense, you'd be kicked out for about I think 6 months, and they don't talk about what a third offense is. So I don't know if you would never be allowed back in then, if you thought you would never join again. But it's really interesting that, we had this organization for kids, because when you think of the temperance movement in the 1800s, or at least I, think of usually women, actually. They were the leaders of the temperance movement for a long time. And it's interesting that they had an organization for kids that they talked about this with. And Sandusky actually has a rich history of temperance movements. We know the first temperance meeting in Sandusky was in 1825. The first temperance organization in the county was in 1831, back when we were still part of Huron County, so it would have been an organization that covers both Huron and Erie counties. And these organizations kept going. We know that they met, this is 1848. We know that this organization flourished for a while. The Cadets of Temperance movement actually spread all across the United States. It spread all across Canada. And they were kind of the partner organization to the men's equivalent was called the Sons of Temperance. And you had to have 3 members of the Sons of Temperance to act as officers to have a Cadets of Temperance organization. And like I said, temperance was successful in the United States, and in Sandusky. We had our own local laws passed. We know, of course, there was an amendment passed to enforce temperance across the country. Of course, we all know the history of the illegal drinking and bars and stuff, even in Sandusky. Cedar Point, there were several raids on Cedar Point during temperance that are fascinating when you start reading about them. There's a great example where Beckling, who of course is very important in Sandusky history, was brought up on charges for illegally selling alcohol at Cedar Point. He had to go to a court over in Toledo, and not only did he argue his way out of the conviction to say that he wasn't doing this, but he convinced the judge, the court, that all the alcohol he bought before temperance came into effect. So legally, he could own it, because you could still drink your own alcohol. That wasn't a problem. So he actually got all his confiscated alcohol back to Cedar Point, which is one of my favorite Cedar Point history stories, that he was able to do that. So temperance does have a really interesting effect on American history. It's also why we have a income tax that was pushed by people who pushed temperance, because there had to be something to make up the revenue from taxing alcohol. So they pushed the income tax. So there you go. You can blame the temperance movement for the adoption of a federal income tax. But yeah, it's really, like I said, that's one of the most interesting parts of what I do, is how I find artifacts. Is I started off looking for something completely different, looking for something that had to do with the United States Constitution, and I was able to find a constitution from one of our organizations, nicely printed in 1848, and able to learn something new myself, and hopefully share with you all something you enjoy as well. I don't see any questions right now, but as always, if you have any questions that you would like, post them in the comments. I'd be happy to answer them. And also, if you have any ideas for what kind of artifacts you'd like to see in the future, leave that in the comments as well. I'm always happy to look through our collection, see if I can find something that interests you guys. And for me, this is the fun part of my job, going through the archives, finding something new, and getting to share it with you guys every week. So whatever you guys suggest, I'm going to really enjoy looking for it and trying to find it. So I hope you all enjoy our first fall weekend, and I hope to see you next week on Follett House Friday. Enjoy your weekend.